What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and today I'm going to start deep diving into Bruce Springsteen's latest release, Tracks 2, a 7 CD box set of lost albums, material from the past many decades that have been compiled into these 7 albums, each representing a very specific time in Springsteen's history in the past 30 years. And yeah, that's what we get. I do not own this yet. It was rather expensive. It wasn't for a 7 CD box set. It was a lot more than I thought it should be, though. I know I will eventually get it. However, a friend of mine who also feeds me a lot of Dead, we split the Dead purchasing duties between us. He did buy this, and so he is letting me borrow 1 CD at a time. And so I'm going to go through it 1 CD at a time and give you my thoughts. And then at the end of it, I will decide whether or not to buy it or not. But I have a feeling just after the first CD, I'm going to end up purchasing it anyways. But anyways, today I'm going to talk about the very first CD, LA Garage Sessions 83, 18 tracks recorded in 1983 between the recordings of Nebraska and Born in the USA. It is an underproduced collection of songs. I mean, they all sound pretty good, but you know that if in this era he had decided to take any of these and maybe put them on Born in the USA, which was the album that followed the recordings of this, you know there would have been some production, a lot more electric guitar. There's some what sounds like electric guitar, but with very little effects. Like maybe he's just, straight through an amp. There's a lot of acoustic, drum, bass. There's simpler performances. I don't have the liner notes, like I said. I just have the CD, so this is just my musical experience. I'm not going to play any of the songs. I'm pretty much just going to talk about how fascinating and interesting this 18-track journey is. I would say if this was released as an album, it would have to be a double album, obviously, because it's 18 tracks. It's almost a full CD. I think it's better than Lucky Town. It's better than Human Touch by far. I'm not sure. It's definitely not better than Nebraska or Born in the USA or Tunnel of Love, the 3 albums on which you can hear like, oh, this would have fit on this album. This would have fit on this album. On these 18 tracks, I do think maybe it does hold its own on some of his maybe weaker material, but it's definitely better than Human Touch or Lucky Town. It's a fun listen. There's a number of tracks which I think really stand out, and I think had they been maybe given some more love and did appear on something like Born in the USA, I think they could have made somehow made that album even stronger. There's a number of tracks which have a starker, more Nebraska vibe that I think had they been on Nebraska, maybe they would have worked. I mean, that's a perfect album, so it's hard to see. It's hard to imagine it in any other configuration, but there are a number of tracks. And I think, and had CDs been cheaper to produce, and it didn't turn out to be as expensive as this is, but I think there's a massive book that goes with a box set and all. One day I will get it. For now, I'm just excited to talk about the music. I think you could have divided this 18 tracks into maybe 9 Nebraska, where like, this is definitely the connective tissue between Nebraska and Born in the USA. I think you could have split this into a 2 CD release and had like maybe half of it, the sort of leading away from Nebraska towards something else, and then the other 9, the definitely in more of a Born in the USA, experimenting with synths, experimenting with different textures that Born in the USA would lead us to. So I think there's a healthy balance of both of those. And it'd be neat to maybe have them separated. I might do that one day in my life once I actually have the set myself. But anyways, it opens up with Follow That Dream, which is right away, you're just like, yeah. I think if this had been on Tunnel of Love in particular, Tunnel of Love immediately becomes even better album than it is. I think it also could have worked on Born in the USA. Definitely wouldn't have worked on Nebraska. But it starts off with Bruce counting in. 1, 2, and then we're off. Really nice way to start this box set. Really nice way to start this CD. This is your very gentle, very safe mid-tempo ballad. But the words are great. It's about encouraging people, providing hope. Follow That Dream. It is such an understatement of an opening song for this is a 7-disc box set. You kind of feel like you want your leadoff batter to have like a really like maybe not just a good on base percentage, but be able to like hit home runs just to like, hey, we're in this. We're going to provide a good show. We want to come out and score. This is like just soft, quiet, confident perfection. It is such a beautiful song. It is such absolutely mind blown that this wasn't released prior to this on another like official studio album. Fantastic, fantastic song. But it's so, I think if you're not a Bruce fan already, you're maybe like underwhelmed by the song. Like, oh, okay, this is Bruce Springsteen. If you are a Bruce fan already and you know where this comes in that 80 between Nebraska and Born and he drops this, like especially coming out of Nebraska, you know, you're like, gotta purge yourself of all those dark energies. It's just a phenomenal opening, but it is so understated. It is so quietly confident in its delivery. It's just, this is one of many I'm surprised didn't make its way onto an official album. Next is Don't Back Down in Our Love. This could have been on The River. It could have been on Born in the USA. It has some upbeat 50s flavored rock. I think it could have worked on The River, going back to The River even. There's a lot of that sort of, that 50s garage rock, early 60s rock vibe that Springsteen's fond of that kind of seeps into a number of these songs, but in a little more of a Born in the USA, softer palette sort of way than that more intense River way. I think this one, Don't Back Down in Our Love, could have appeared on either one of those. A Little Girl Like You, straight up Buddy Holly, acoustic bouncy vibe. And then we get Johnny Bye Bye, which is, I think, the first of one of the really, really standouts on here. Very Nebraska dark vibe. It's acoustic guitar and a voice. It's about the night Elvis Presley died. A whole lot of trouble. What was it? A whole lot of trouble running through his veins when they found him dead. It almost feels like just a throwaway song because I think it's pretty short, but it's pretty impactful. It's pretty good. I think it's about driving down to Memphis the night Presley dies, and it's like a bunch of people like gathered around, sort of this like spontaneous gathering, celebration, wake, whatever it is. Interesting little track. But then next, absolutely another phenomenal track, Sugarland. Just this slow, dramatic, but very big sounding kind of tale that sounds like it could be on Darkness on the Edge of Town or even fit on like The River is one of the darker tunes on that. It's about struggling through life as a farmer. It's just about like living out in Sugarland, which I'm assuming the same place that other, isn't that in Texas, East Texas, Sugarland, right? Maybe there's another Sugarland somewhere else. But just about being a farmer and struggling through life and how hard it is. And it's just one of those really heart-wrenching, dramatic, sort of acoustic-driven songs that just sounds bigger than it should be, but it absolutely works. Seven Trees, upbeat little 50s vibe on here. This is sort of something that you'd find on The River meets like folk music. Interesting little vibe right there. The 7 tears are tattooed on somebody's face because they've had a rough life and some bad things have happened. A lot of the sort of Nebraska hangover, The River, Nebraska character study hangover is kind of lingering. We're not yet to that. It's interesting because I think everything on here just feels like upbeat and positive. Like Bruce is in a really good space, it sounds like. I mean, obviously he's got these 18 brilliant songs that are coming out of here. But he's still dealing with dark topics, but the energy is just so uplifting and compelling, and like you just want to engage with these songs because it sounds like an artist just at the top of his game. And then maybe my favorite song on here, Fugitive Dream, starts off with sort of a bright Nebraska type acoustic feel, but about a minute and a half in, this bass line drops that is just almost like this sort of super caffeinated Booker T and the MG's bass riff. Some synthesizer action comes in that's pretty kind of subtle, but obviously adding some really noticeable texture. It's got this really haunting narrative just with this just driving bass energy. Reminds me of the Drive-By Truckers Used to Be a Cop. Like the song really doesn't go too many places over the course of it, but once we lock into that bass groove, like you don't care. Like this is full on almost a straight up 80s synth pop song, but like a darker 80s synth pop song, like a level 42 type, bass driven type thing. Get an Old Town Road reference long before anybody else made Old Town Road popular. Yeah, I think this is just a complete home run. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our seventh hitter, seventh in the lineup, is knocking this thing out of the ballpark, man. Cleaning up these bases. Yeah, so I would say we have bases loaded. I would say of the first 7 songs, Follow That Dream's a winner, Johnny Bye Bye, Sugarland. Clear winners. Bases are loaded. Fugitive Dream hits a home run. Awesome. Next is Black Mountain Ballad, which is like this Nebraska acoustic vibe, wailing. Very much feels like this. At one point, we kind of shift and it drops into this very my hometown, I'm on fire type, born in the USA type ballad vibe. But you definitely get like a Black Mountain Ballad. That's the name of the song. Has that very like somebody who lives on a mountain has an acoustic guitar is going to tell you the story about something that happened on Black Mountain. Has that vibe. Jim Deere, which appears on this twice. This is the short little throwaway version. Starts off as it has a different title later on. Very Bob Dylan, harmonica type folk song about a guy named James Deere. He falls in love, steals a lot of stuff, ends up in prison. Yeah, so not a happy ending. Could have worked on Nebraska if it wasn't quite as folky and a little just darker. County Fair. This is music that sounds like you're spending an evening with your girl at the county fair. At the end of the night, you end up sitting in front of your house in the car, just hoping this night never ends. It's a very gentle, it feels like it's an upbeat ballad that feels absolutely appropriate to an evening at the county fair. Not like a something evil, wicked, this way comes county fair, but like a hometown, beautiful county fair, family county fair. Then we get a different version of My Hometown, a little bit brighter, a little more intimate, a lot more just the acoustic strumming guitar gives it a little bit texture. This is a different timeline. He's married to Mary on here instead of Kate. So interesting what happened there. I don't know what happened to Mary by the time he re-recorded this. Then we get this really neat song called One Love, which very beginning of it reminds me of Rod Stewart's Young Turks. Like that, it's a synth pop song. Definitely something that would kind of lean into more of a Born in the USA type vibe. But then when we get to the chorus, it has this really almost light 50s vibe in the chorus, and that sort of hybrid of like the 80s synth pop and the more like traditional 50s-esque melody works really, really well. Don't Back Down, I think might be the weakest song on here. It has this very urgent kind of upbeat rock vibe that I don't really like the melody in this one. This one doesn't really grab me. And then we get Richfield Whistle, which starts off with almost the same lyrics as Jim Deere from earlier, but then this one is much starker. The character learns appropriate lessons, and at night he's lying in bed listening to the Richfield Whistle. It is this whistle that blows whenever a man enters or leaves the nearby Richfield prison. In this song, I think he stays out of prison, but it's still this like darker, it's about twice as long as Jim Deere, the other version. Just darker, more epic, more tragic, sort of like acoustic driven Stark number. Yeah, very Nebraska-esque. Excellent song. Another excellent song, The Klansman. I think it's about being a kid and realizing your dad's in the Klan and meeting some people from the Klan and just kind of repeating the stories or the things that were said. It's got this really awesome sort of driving guitar bass combo. Really good song, really neat song. This would be neat to see. This would have been one that would have been neat to see on Born in the USA. Obviously wouldn't have fit in there and would have given that album a much more obvious, like, hey, even though I'm saying I'm born in the USA, I'm maybe not celebrating it. But yeah, interesting track. Then we get Unsatisfied Heart, which sounds like it belongs on Tunnel of Love. If this had been on Tunnel of Love instead of one of those weaker tracks, Tunnel of Love gets that much better. It's got these, I don't know if it's a 12-string guitar or what it is, but there's this really kind of icy synthy sound that maybe sounds like it's a 12-string with some really cool effects on it, or it's some sort of, it's got this really cool sort of icy synth sound that plays through like the latter half of it that, I don't know, I really like it. The ending of it, the song kind of has this instrumental section that reminds me of like Psyche or Cure music, just the way they play with like the guitar and the effects and just create this overall sound. Musically, a really, really cool song. I mean, Can You Live with an Unsatisfied Heart? Straight off the Tunnel of Love. That should have been on there. Shut Out the Light. This is what character study about people who, are going through life and don't want you to shut out the light because they don't want to be alone. It's a pilot and a woman he meets up with locally. This small town boy who's coming home. So like nice little character studies. They're very upbeat. This could have fit on Nebraska. Would have been a very upbeat Nebraska song. And then we close out with a more dramatic, drawn out version of Fugitive Dream, like a ballad version, something that would have fit more appropriately on Nebraska. No, the bass line is not here. I think the bass line absolutely makes this a completely unique song. I think the original is, if he had released one, go with that original version. But I'm going to rank these as I go through them. These albums, obviously, this is number 1 thus far because I've only done one. But this is a pretty strong start. I really think you could, if you were to boil this down to like a 40-minute album and actually release this between Nebraska and Born in the USA, it's probably, it's not going to be better than either one of those 2 albums. Probably not even better than Tunnel of Love, but I would put like the opening Follow That Dream, Johnny Bye Bye, Sugarland, Fugitive Dream. My Hometown would go on here, even this version. One Love, Richfield Whistle, The Klansman, Unsatisfied Heart. Yeah, you got easily 9 or 10 songs that can make a 40-minute album. That is good stuff. Maybe not S tier, but maybe a solid A tier album. But yeah, excellent start. Box set's looking good so far. We're doing well. I think the next one we get into is the Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is next, but I'll have to check on that. The Philadelphia sessions. But anyways, we'll drop that in a couple days. Going to start listening to that today. Trade my CDs. Get another one. And then I'll have that in a couple days. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on this. Just the first disc. Don't give away anything else. I don't want to know anything else about the other discs. But if you have information about this that I missed, please drop it in the comments. I like to know. But yeah, it's these LA Garage Sessions 83. This is to have none of these songs be released, and this is just the scraps of Bruce. Bow down, man. Bow down. But anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Leave comments as you want to, and subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. And that's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.